Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Michael. It is time for another delicious dessert, and today I'm going to show you how to make a honey cake. This could not be any easier, and it is absolutely delicious. Let's get started with our ingredients. So I've got a pan here. This is an 8-inch pan, and I'm going to go ahead and get this prepared. And on the inside of it, I've already cut out a piece of parchment paper. This is going to make that removal of that cake out of this pan really easy to do. So I'm going to take some butter here. And I'm just going to put just a little bit in the bottom of the pan. And the reason I do that is just so that I can hold this paper down, just like that. And then I'm going to take the rest of the butter here, and then I'm going to wipe some on this paper, and then I'm going to put some on the sides here as well. All right, I've got my pan ready to go. Let's set this to the side, and I'm going to bowl here. And in that bowl, I have a colander, or I'm going to use this as a sifter today, and we're going to sift all of our dry ingredients together, make sure those get mixed together really well. So we're going to start out, I've got 1 cup or 120 grams of all-purpose flour, and we'll go ahead and add that in just like that. I've got 1/4 cup or 30 grams of cornstarch, and we're basically making a cake flour is what we're doing with this today. I've got 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. I've got 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now with that, I'm just going to sift that into this large bowl here. It's always good to sift it because you get some of these clumps behind, and we definitely don't want that in our cake. So always sift your ingredients when you're making cakes and things. It really makes it a lot easier, and you don't have those big clumps and things in there. All right, now that we've got that sifted, I'm going to take a whisk, and I'm just going to make sure that all of those ingredients are really mixed together in there and get that all combined up really well. All right, now that we've got that combined, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to grab me another bowl here. So I've got 56 grams or 1/4 cup of unsalted butter. I'm just going to put that in my bowl. And I'm going to use the same little spatula here and make sure that we get all of that goodness out of that bowl. We don't want to leave anything behind. I've got 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and this you want to be unflavored because we don't want to add any flavor to it. So this is unflavored vegetable oil, and I've got 1/4 cup, or that's 52 grams, and we'll add that in. Now I've got vanilla. I'm going to add that in. I've got 1½ teaspoons of that, and this is my homemade vanilla. If you've never made vanilla before, I'll put the link in the description box below. I've got a video on my channel where I can show you how to make that. Go check it out. I think you'll really like that. This is 1½ teaspoons of vanilla. Now I've got 2 large eggs, and these are room temperature eggs. Whenever I bake cakes or anything, I always bring those to room temperature. I've got a separate bowl here. I'm going to break those into it to make sure that I've got 2 good ones. And just in case I get any eggshells, you definitely want to catch that before you put it into your mixture. So that is a good egg there. So let's go ahead and put that in. And I'll check my other one. All right, I've got my second one now. Let's go ahead and add that in now. And I'm going to take my whisk and break my eggs up and mix this together until all of this is combined well in this bowl. All right, we've got all of that mixed together now. Let's set that aside. And I've got some milk. My milk is at room temperature. This is 1/2 cup or 120 grams. And I've got some wildflower honey. This is 1/2 cup or 170 grams. And I'm going to go ahead and add that into my milk mixture together. And I'm going to bring that spatula back, make sure that I get all of that honey out of that. Now that I've got my honey and my milk combined together, I'm going to put this in the microwave, and I'm going to put it on for about 15 seconds, come back and give it a stir. And I'm going to keep doing the 15 seconds until it is warm to the touch. So however long that takes in your microwave, go ahead and heat that together and get it mixed together, and it'll be warm to the touch when it's done. All right, I've got my honey and my milk mixture together. That took about 30 seconds is all that took. You just wanted it to kind of heat up just a little bit to make that honey and that milk mix together. So 30 seconds is all it took for me, and I'm going to set that to the side, and let's get started putting our ingredients together. So I'm going to grab the wet ingredients that I've got here, and I'm going to add the dry ingredients to the top of it. Now with any homemade cake, you do not want to overmix this. You'll activate the gluten if you do, and your cake will be really dense. So we just want this to come together is all we're looking for, to get that flour mixed in with those initial wet ingredients. And that looks pretty good right there. I'm going to take my honey and my milk, and we'll mix that together. I'm going to pour that over the back of the spatula so that I don't splatter it all over the kitchen. And now let's give this a good combine together. All right, I've got my batter mixed together now. I just brought that together. Like I said earlier, do not want to overmix this. We do not want a dense cake. We're going to take our cake pan now, and we're going to take our mixture and we're going to pour it into that. This is going to make 1 layer of our cake today. All right, now that we've got our batter in our pan, I've got a 1/4 cup of almond slices here. We're going to see if I'm going to add some more. I always put a little bit extra on it. So I'm going to take my hand here and we're just going to spread these over the top, just like that. Now that we've got our almond slices on our cake, it is ready to go into that preheated 325-degree Fahrenheit oven, or that's 160 degrees Celsius. And we're going to cook this between 30 and 40 minutes. And you'll be able to tell when this is done when you stick a toothpick in it or a skewer and it comes out clean. So I'll come back and let you know how long this one takes today. 30 to 40 minutes on 325 Fahrenheit or 160 Celsius. I'll see you back in just a minute. My stove is convection, so I shouldn't have to turn this around, but I'd always come in anyway about halfway through. So about 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my pan around that way. I make sure that it gets evenly cooked on all sides. My cake is done. I just pulled out of the oven. It did cook for 30 minutes, and like I said earlier, at 15 minutes, I went in and turned the cake around. So now I've got it on this wire rack now, and I've got my glaze here. I've got a tablespoon of honey and a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to take the cake out of the cake pan and put it on my cake plate here and get this ready to go for my frosting on the top of it or my honey butter glaze. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rack here, I'm going to put it under there just like that, and I'm going to turn it upside down. And I noticed it when I looked at it that it had pulled away from the side of it. So I knew I did need to get a knife after it to run along the side, but if you don't notice it has pulled away from the side, then you can run a knife around the edge of it just to make sure that it is released. The paper did come off of the cake into the pan, which is fine. I'm going to put this in the sink. I don't want to burn my countertop with this, so I'll be back in just a second and we'll turn it over and put it into our cake plate. So now I've got my cake plate here and I can see from the bottom of that what that looks like. And we're just going to turn that over and put that right side up now, because we want those almonds to be on the top. That looks absolutely beautiful. Now I'm going to take my butter and my honey. I'm going to put that in the microwave for 10 to 15 seconds. I want that to melt together. And then I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to brush the honey and butter on the top. So I'll be back in just a second once I get this melted. I've got my butter and my honey mixed together and I left it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. And we're just going to now take that little brush and I'm going to brush this over the top of it, all over the top, and get that nice glaze on the top of this cake. If you wanted to, you could take a toothpick or a skewer and punch some holes in the top of this and let some of that soak down into that cake. That would be really good as well. This absolutely smells and looks delicious. I'm gonna let this cool down just a little bit and let that honey and butter settle in on the top of it, and we'll come back and we'll give it a cut and give it a taste test. I've got me a big slice of this honey cake and I can't wait to taste it. It smells absolutely delicious and looks really fluffy and tender. That crumb of that cake looks absolutely delicious, and that honey butter glaze on the top of it really sets it off. Let's give it a try. That is absolutely delicious, and the good thing about this is there's not any more added sugar in it other than the honey that we put in it. So this is a really good recipe. I know you're going to want to try this one. And if you've never had a honey cake before, leave me a comment when you make this. I definitely want to hear from you how yours turned out. And if you've made a honey cake before, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you if you do anything different with it. If you like this content, maybe you might consider giving me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And while you're at it, maybe you might want to check out one of these other two videos over here on the side. You might find something else you like. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Give this recipe a try. I know you're going to love this honey cake. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye now.